It's Spring, she said, by Joan, Blos. After it had been cold for a long time, a sweet warm wind came into the city. It stirred the curtains at open windows and filled the air with softness not known in winter months. In the park, children unbuttoned their coats. Jump ropes were brought out and roller skates. The pavement sounded with the long sweeping strokes of those who skated well and the ragged scuffing steps of those just learning how. Men from the sanitation department removed snowplows from their trucks, and the park department men put away their snow shovels, as did the janitors and superintendents of large apartment buildings. Mr. Alan Lynn left his job early. He went to the garage where he kept his tasty, fresh ice cream truck. It had been put away all winter, so Mr. Lynn checked the tires, the motor, and the battery. He tested the jingly bells and made a list of things that needed fixing. Matthew Peterson lost his mittens in school. He had lost mittens many times before, and his mother had warned him that he must be more careful. But when he told her, she answered easily, "Oh, that's all right. Winter's nearly gone." Matthew's mother took a potato from the pile she was peeling and pitched it to him. "Baseball season," she said gaily. "It's almost time for that." "Baseball!" yelled Matthew. "Why didn't you tell me?" He rushed to his room to look for his bat and gray felt baseball hat. The man in the shoe store frowned at the lumpy pile of boots. "No one will want them now," he said. "Spring is almost here." Then he had an idea. Quickly he made a sign and hung it over the boots. "On sale, half price." The man in the shoe store waited and waited, but still no customers came. Too soon," said Mrs. Mundy. "We'll be cold again before it's spring. You wait and see," she said. The man at the vegetable store did not agree with her, but Mrs. Mundy was right. In a few days, gray clouds and a sharp wind brought winter back again. Steam heat rattled the radiators in the morning. Mothers told their children to dress warmly. Coats were buttoned snugly or zipped up to the chin. At night, windows were closed. Blankets were brought out, and a thick snow fell and stayed. Matthew Peterson forgot about baseball and went out sledding with his friends. They hitched their sleds into trains, and they rode standing up in many other ways. Without his mittens, Matthew's hands were cold. He tried to warm them as best he could, but his fingers felt stiff and icy. Mr. Allen Lynch changed his mind about going to work on his truck. Instead, he stayed in his nice warm house and helped his wife hang curtains. Mrs. Mundy put on her scarf, her hat, her gloves, and her fur-lined boots. She went out to do her errands. "Well, it's as you said," the vegetable man remarked. "It was much too soon for spring." He briskly slapped his hands together and rubbed them as he spoke. Mrs. Mundy smiled at the vegetable man. "Don't be silly," she said to him brightly. "Spring is on its way." And the man did not agree. And again, Mrs. Mundy was right. A few days later, the warm south wind returned. With it came fair weather. Towers glinted in the sun. Strangers smiled at each other in the beautiful city. Pails of purple lilacs were set out in front of the flower stores. People bought bunches of yellow daffodils and pots of tulips and knobby hyacinths. Bags of planting soil were sold in the 5 and 10. Busily, the men of the park department repaired swings and benches and parts of jungle gyms. They swept away old leaves. They trimmed dead branches. Once again, children hurried out with jump ropes and bicycles. Once again, the swishing sounds of roller skates were heard. Hopscotch was played on the paths in the park. Children tried out the drinking fountains. Was the water turned on yet? That's what they wanted to know. Hats and jackets were gladly forgotten. Through the long afternoon, children played in short socks and short-sleeved shirts and sneakers. Sneakers! The man in the shoe store sold many pairs of them, and the barber was busy giving short new haircuts. Once again, Mr. Lynn left his job early and went to the garage. He took a friend along, for there was lots of work to be done, and little time for the doing. Matthew Peterson had his 8th birthday party. His best presents were a magic set and a baseball glove that had a leathery smell. The day after the party, Matthew came home from school and had some chocolate milk. Then he took out his new glove and went out to play ball. The captains of both teams wanted him, and when he was in right field, he caught 2 fly balls and a grounder. Spring was everywhere. Spring, spring, and ding-a-ding, and there was Mr. Allen Lynn smiling at one and all. Children crowded around him. "I'll have chocolate. I'll have vanilla. Chocolate, vanilla, chocolate. A buttercrumb crunch," said Matthew P. "A buttercrumb crunch for me." In the vegetable store, Mrs. Mundy and the vegetable man smiled at each other. "Well, what do you say today?" he asked. "I say it's spring," she answered, and filling her basket with new potatoes, fresh asparagus, strawberries, rhubarb, and 1 large melon, she went about her errands. Spring had come to the city. Spring had come to stay. The end.